Before the Jedi, before the Jedi, before the Republic even knew the Force existed, there were monks in the Andobi Mountains who listened to a call no one else could hear. Their chants echoed across frozen cliffs, their sigils would one day define empires, and their quiet meditations helped shape the very foundations of the Jedi Order. This is the story of the Dai Bendu, the forgotten mystics of the galaxy. Welcome back to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herders, your home of Star Wars lore, legends, and deep dives into the ancient past of the galaxy far, far away. Today we uncover one of the most obscure and influential groups in the pre-Republic era, the Order of Dai Bendu. Though the name survives only in crumbling archives and misremembered myths, their fingerprints stretch across millennia, from the birth of the Jedi Order to the symbol of the Galactic Republic itself. Long before the Republic, before hyperspace lanes connected systems, the frozen world of Andou Prime was home to the Talid species, nomadic white-furred beings collectively known as the Bendu tribe. In the 38th millennia before the Galactic Civil War, these Talids formed one of the earliest organized traditions of Force study, the Order of Dai Bendu. Peaceful, contemplative, and deeply spiritual, the Dai Bendu devoted themselves to numerology, non-confrontational philosophy, and the earliest known study of both the Force and midi-chlorians. While groups like the Kwa, the Selkath scholars of Manan, and the shamans of Dathomir were independently discovering the Force elsewhere, the Dai Bendu stood as one of the first communities to study it formally, though entirely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Around 37,453 before the Battle of Yavin, everything changed. Half buried in the snow, the Dai Bendu discovered a massive octahedral monolith, a Thoyor. For 1,000 years they meditated before it, unable to open it, but sensing an immense power within. Then, in 36,453 BBY, the prophecy was fulfilled. Without words, the Thoyor called to them, a voice felt in the heart and mind. The monks entered, discovering that the structure was actually a starship. It lifted them from Andou Prime and carried them across the galaxy to Tython, a world dense with Force energy. There, they found that 7 other Thoyor had brought other Force-sensitive cultures as well. United for the first time in galactic history, these groups formed the foundation of the Jedi Order, the first unified society built around the balance of the light and the dark. The very name Jedi comes from the Dai Bendu language. Ji, mystic, Dai, center, a direct reflection of the Bendu belief that harmony lies between opposing forces. After millennia on Tython, disaster struck. The city of Aurum, the cradle of early Tython civilization, was destroyed, and the planet grew violently unstable for those not attuned to the Force. Non-Force sensitive settlers fled outward into the Tython system. Among them, the Dai Bendu established monasteries on Kalamar, a spiritual hub of the system, Shikakwa, Skagora, the moons Obri and Mar, and even the outer world, Fury's Gate. On Kalamar, the temples were decorated with stained glass, ancient frescoes, and colorful prayer cloths strung along mountain ridges, remnants of their Andou Prime heritage. As the Jedi Order evolved, it fractured. One splinter group ultimately became the Jedi Order, who allied with the newly formed Galactic Republic. Yet, the legacy of the Dai Bendu endured. The Jedi adopted the ancient 8-rayed Bendu sigil, a symbol representing the Force binding the galaxy, unity through balance, and the beneficent presence of the Force represented by the sacred number 9. This emblem would be used during the Unification Wars, adopted by the Republic as its crest, appropriated by the Sith Emperor thousands of years later, and eventually modified by Emperor Palpatine into the Imperial crest by removing 2 spokes. Few symbols in galactic history have traveled so far, and it began with the Bendu monks. Even controversial figures like Zendor, who initiated the first Great Schism, drew heavily on Dai Bendu teachings when founding his academy on Leto. Despite their enormous influence, the Dai Bendu faded into legend. By the time of the High Republic and the Clone Wars, their role in creating the Jedi Order was almost entirely forgotten. Historians lacked evidence to connect them directly to the Jedi. Their names survived mostly as an obscure theological footnote. Only a few individuals possessed texts about them, including Darth Plagueis, who studied ancient Force sects extensively. By 32 BBY, a small monastery still existed on Ando Prime under the high priest Ten Abu Donba, who, in a charming contradiction of their pacifist ideals, served as the honorary starter for the planet's annual pod races. Their chants, deep, echoing, and haunting, remain a local curiosity, but their grand legacy has been lost to the ages. The Dai Bendu lived simply. Tent villages high in the mountains, long flowing robes, walking poles for snowy terrain, sacred water collected from Andobi glaciers. They valued peace, observation, mathematical harmony, and non-confrontation, and, curiously, embraced commerce, trading handmade rugs and crafts to passing travelers and pod race fans. Their numerology centered on 9, symbolizing the unified force, 8 spokes bound to one central disk. This image, etched into Thoyor faces and carried throughout galactic history for 36,000 years, remains one of their greatest contributions. And that wraps up our look at the Order of Dai Bendu, the quiet monks whose symbols, philosophies, and discoveries shaped the earliest chapters of Jedi and galactic history, even as their own names faded into myth. Thank you for spending time with us today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient Star Wars lore, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing the video. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can join our Patreon or become a channel member, helping us continue to bring these legends to life. Until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, my fellow scruffy-looking Nerf Herders, may the Force be with you.